Alright guys, so today we're going to be replacing the upper control arm on the Lexus. I got the new part right here. I noticed there was a little play in mine, so I just kind of grabbed the wheel and then just kind of move it back and forth, and the wheel moves a little bit, but you can see it right there. It's moving as I move the wheel, so definitely don't want the ball joint to go out. Especially, you know, when you're on the freeway or something, definitely could be bad. So I'm gonna show you how to replace that. So I'll just jag it up. You're gonna want to take the tires off. Then next, you're gonna want to remove this cotter pin right here. So you want to get some pliers, some needle nose pliers, and just unbend this cotter pin. Just pull that out of there. You're gonna take 17mm and just bust this nut off right here. So these have little flat spots on the end right here. You could use a pickling bar to get that off, or you could just tap these with a hammer. Right there on the edge. And then it just wants to come off. So then you just pull this up, it slips out. Next off, we're going to pull these bolts out right here. They're going to be a 14mm. So I like to use a ratcheting end on this. And these are going to be on there a little tight, so I might have to use a hammer to bust it free at first. The wrench, I like to take just a 3/8 ratchet with an extension and a deep socket, and it tends to fit in there fairly decent behind the shock. You could take the shock out if you want, but for time's sake, I'm just working with it in there. So just loosen it up. And once it's hand loose, just run that out. Or you could use a ratcheting wrench if you have one, 14mm. those out, and then this just pulls straight out. Yeah, this one definitely bad. Definitely don't want to be driving around on that. Get your new one out. Then you're just going to want to position this back where the old one is. Sometimes aligning it can be a little bit of a pain. Especially with new bushings. The bushings are going to be a little bit big, so you're going to be kind of have to almost force it in there. So you might just have to move it around, move the A-arm around as you mess with it. So move it back and forth and try to get that bolt in the hole. If you can fit a drift in there, you could do that as well. And leave these both loose until you can feel both of the threads starting. That way you don't want to tighten one end up because it's going to make the other end super difficult to get the bolt in there. But once you get both of them in there, feel free to tighten them up. So you want to probably bring your, when you go to tighten it, bring your A-arm, control arm up to the top. And then you're going to want to tighten it to pretty much where it's going to be sitting. You don't want to. So then just tighten your A-arm. Another tip for if those bolts don't want to line up, sometimes I've done that where I will use my phone, my camera on my phone. I'll look in the hole and see if you can see all the way through and you don't see any edges or anything, then you're solid. But just line it up. It just gives you a, just use the camera as a guide to help you figure out if you're aligned. So you can torque those, but I'm not going to torque them. I'm just going to tighten them back up and give them a little tap with the hammer. Take your cover off and your nut that's on there. Just bring this knuckle over there. You're gonna want to lift up on your A-arm a little bit. Slip that back into your knuckle. Freaking gloves falling off. Alright, you're gonna want to slide your knuckle back in. Your A-arm. Gonna slide your knuckle or your A-arm, your ball joint back into your knuckle, and you're gonna want to put on the new nut that they gave you. This new nut's actually a 19 millimeter, so not the same as the So the new nut's actually a 19 millimeter. The old one was a 17. Doesn't really matter, but I'm just gonna take my little impact and just bust. Kind of sink it in. Make sure your holes are lined up with the castle nut. Make sure the castle nut's lined up with the hole so you can feed your new cotter pin through. And the kit should have came with a new cotter pin, or mine did at least. And I bought the A-arm on Amazon. It was only like 60 bucks, so not too bad. So then you're just gonna want to slip your cotter pin through your pliers and bend your cotter pin back. That cotter pin is just gonna keep the nut from backing out, so you're definitely gonna want a cotter pin in there. Now just put your wheel back on and you're good to go.